Hey guys, so today I've got something a little bit special just for you. After some exhaustive soul searching, I have come up with a list of my favorite 17 shows of all time. Now, you may be wondering, Poppy, why didn't you do a top 10? What's up with your top 17? Well, a couple of reasons for that. One, I really like the number 17. It's probably like my favorite number in the whole world, so that's one reason. And the other reason is that I tried to come up with a top 10 list, but there were way too many other shows that I wanted to talk about, so, you know, that's how I came up with 17, so there you go. Okay, so let's get into the list, you guys. Starting off at number 17. One of the best really kind of sports shows ever on television was Friday Night Lights. Loved it. The story of Coach Taylor and his wife Tammy, and they move to this small Texas town, and he becomes the football coach, and he's just this like awesome man who like tries to make awesome young men out of his football team. And I think a lot of people kind of wrote this show off because they thought, oh, it's gonna be like a sports show, and there were sports, but there was so much more heart behind this show and just great stories about, you know, these kids and their home lives and what football meant to them. And it was such a great show. The thing I loved about this show too was that it didn't get great ratings, but NBC really kind of stuck behind the show. And so it was on the air for a lot longer than I ever thought it was going to be. This show also showcased, I think, one of the best portrayals of marriage. Between Coach Taylor and his wife Tammy Taylor. I mean, they just were so kind of real, like their marriage was, and I really loved that aspect of this show. It is available on Netflix if you want to check it out. It is a win-win, people, believe me. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Number 16 was a fantastic supernatural kind of sci-fi show called The 4400. It was on the USA Network several years ago. But you guys, the most fantastic premise for a show. So it's about these 4,400 people that basically appear out of nowhere in this just one spot, right? I think somewhere in Washington. And of course the government shows up trying to figure out what to do with these people and who they are. And as the story develops, we learn that these are all people that went missing at various times. Some of them like 100 years ago, some of them 10 years ago, some of them 50 years ago, and none of them know where they've been. They just all show up in this one spot together, kind of all disoriented. And then all of a sudden each of them start to exhibit different kind of powers, and the show is about this government agency that's formed to kind of track down the 4,400 and to kind of catalog them and to stop them from doing evil things. Fantastic show, you guys. If you like supernatural sci-fi type of shows, this is the show for you. I know you can buy the seasons on DVD. I'm not exactly sure if you can see them on Hulu or Netflix, but you guys, Google it because it's worth it. Okay, number 15 really says a lot about me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and confess to you guys that I'm not a teenager anymore, but somewhere in my hardened adult heart, there is a soft spot for like teenage soap opera type dramas. I just love them, love them, love them. Number 15 on this list is one of my favorites, and that is Dawsons Creek. It started off on the WB. Do we all remember the WB? Which is now the CW. I just love this show, you guys. And one of the highlights for me is definitely the Pacey and Joey relationship that formed and kind of the scandal that came because of that. Love that relationship and how it played out throughout the entire series. Katie Holmes was on that show, and Michelle Williams, who of course is now like a fantastic actress and getting all kinds of like Oscar nominations and stuff. She started off on Dawsons Creek and was a part of all the teenage soapy drama that was just awesome. I know that they used to show reruns of Dawsons Creek on TNT, so I'm sure you could probably find them somewhere in syndication, or I think they're on Netflix as well. Such a good show, you guys, and yeah, my teenage heart still beats for you, Pacey Witter. Staying on the CW, number 14 includes probably one of the best male characters ever created, and that is Dean Winchester, whom I love. And so number 14, if you haven't guessed it, is Supernatural, which is just, I love this show. I'm probably going to say that about every show on this list, but just a great show, basically about two brothers who grow up as hunters which means they hunt supernatural things. They kill demons and all kinds of other crazy stuff. And the show is about their journey. The great thing about this show is that it very easily could have just been kind of the sci-fi supernatural, like, you know, two hot guys hunt demons. But instead of taking the safe route, they also really included a lot of heart in this show. So kind of the core of this show is the relationship between these two brothers, between Sam and Dean Winchester. And you really see that in every episode and in every season. One thing that I think Supernatural has done so well is they've done such a great job of keeping their kind of storyline and lore really fresh. You know, like, we're hunting demons, you know, for a couple of seasons, but that's gonna start to get old because I know how to kill a demon according to supernatural lore, and a vampire and a werewolf and all kinds of crazy creatures. But instead of doing that, they've done such a great job of kind of mixing up their lore and introducing new creatures and just all kinds of different levels of things that I don't want to say because I don't want to give anything away. Supernatural is available on Netflix, you guys. Go back to season 1. It's so cute to go back and look at them when they were so young and innocent, and now they're all old and jaded and still wonderful and handsome, and I love Dean Winchester. Have I mentioned that? Okay, lucky number 13 on this list is a show that I kind of got into last year, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender. You guys, I feel like a 12-year-old boy telling people that I love this show, but I don't care because I really, really do love it. So my Avatar: The Last Airbender journey started when I watched the movie, which was kind of crappy. There was a movie made kind of based on this cartoon, and it was not so great. But I was intrigued by the premise, and intrigued because I knew there was a TV show that was a cartoon that kind of continued the story. So I decided to check the cartoon out, started in season 1 and worked my way through, and boy am I glad that I did. The show is just funny, it's smart, I know it's a cartoon and you think kids when you think cartoon, but it's totally adult worthy. There are some fantastic characters. Sokka, I mean, just fantastic. And some of the story twists that they chose to do were just so good and so far from cliche. They just did such a great job with this show. Okay, number 12 on my list is The Simpsons. It's funny, it's irreverent, and I don't know, I watch it seriously almost every day. I'm sure I've seen every episode like multiple times, but it doesn't matter. I like keep watching them over and over again because they bring me pleasure. Number 11 on the list, you guys, is Lost, which is a show that I know a lot of people didn't love. The ending and the middle, but I don't care because I loved the whole thing. I remember when I saw the pilot for Lost, like, I was intrigued by the premise. I'd heard, oh my gosh, this plane crashed on an island, so I was like, oh, I'm totally gonna watch the pilot. And then I watched it, and it was like, I mean, mind was blown. It was so good. I mean, when the monster showed up at the end, I was just like, I knew at that moment that I was gonna be watching this show every week on Wednesday nights on ABC. I loved the ending. I mean, the final episode of Lost, I still have it on my computer, and I watch it probably at least once a year because it's just so good. Another show that's on Netflix, you guys, so I would say, you know, watch the pilot and begin your Lost journey. Lost was so good, right? Because initially you're watching it and you're thinking, okay, like plane crash, you've got these survivors on an island and you think it's gonna be one thing, and then it kind of flips the switch and is something completely different. The thing that made the show so good were the characters. I mean, yes, the show is about them surviving on the island, but then it's so much more than that. It's about their destinies and about each of them and their backgrounds and what brought them to the island, and it's just so good. Jack, who was one of the main characters, was just my favorite, you guys, and I loved his journey from like a man of science to a man of faith, and I loved seeing that, and I thought they portrayed it so well. And I mean, yeah, if you watch the beginning to the end, I mean, just the parallels and the mirrors in those two episodes, the pilot and the series finale, were just beautifully done. And just such a great show. Okay guys, that is it for part number 1. Stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, I will be posting parts 2 and possibly parts 3 of this list. Poppy's top 17 shows of all times. I hope you've enjoyed the list so far, you guys, and I will see you again soon. Bye.